Welcome back to my channel. You already know it's your boy Hood Diggity, the Rock Reactor, back with another video. Yes, sir. Before I proceed, let me know where you tapping in from. Let me know what country, what city, what mountain, what hill, what cave, what island, what planet, what universe. Let me know where you at. Represent your hood. Yes, sir. As I understand, President Trump met with Ukrainian President Zelenskyy in Davos. And based on what he said, it was good. Based on what I said, it was good. But here he speaks and let us know what's going on. I really hope they're coming close to the end of this war. But I really hope that if there is an end to this war, to this Ukrainian war, that is done right. I really don't want to see that it ends and Ukraine gets the short end of the stick. I hope that it doesn't end with a surrender and Ukraine has to be turned over to Russia. Because that's not a win. That's not a peace plan. That's just a surrender. That's not really to end the war. But let's see what Zelenskyy has to say, guys. And before we do, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Any donations to my channel will be greatly appreciated. My PayPal account is on the screen. Let's see what he has to say. Zelenskyy speaks.
And some try to get closer to President Trump, it's true. Some wait, hoping the problem will disappear. Some have started acting, investing in weapons production and etc., building partnerships, getting public support for higher defense spending. But let's remember, until America pressured Europe to spend more on defense, most countries were not even trying to reach 5% of GDP, the minimum needed to ensure security. Europe needs to know how to defend itself. And if you send 30 or 40 soldiers to Greenland, what is that for? What message does it send? What's the message to Putin, to China? And even more importantly, what message does it send to Denmark? The most important, your close ally. You either declare that European bases will protect the region from Russia and China and establish those bases, or you risk not being taken seriously because 30 or 40 soldiers will not protect anything. And we know what to do. If Russian warships are sailing freely around Greenland, Ukraine can help. We have the expertise and weapons to ensure not one of those ships remains. They can sink near Greenland, just as they do near Crimea. No problem, we have the tools and we have people. For us, the sea is not the first line of defense, so we can take actions, and we know how to fight there if we were asked and if Ukraine were in NATO. But we are not. We would solve this problem with the Russian ships. As for Iran, everyone is waiting to see what America will do. And the world offers nothing, Europe offers...
You know, guys, part of that Ukraine peace plan is that that Russia wants is that Ukraine doesn't ever join NATO. I think that's a bad move. That's a bad move because that's too much of a control that Russia will have. Something else is that they have to minimize their military personnel. Why would you want them to minimize their military personnel? That's basically to disarm them. I don't agree with that deal at all.
Offers nothing and doesn't not want to enter this issue as a supporter of the Iranian people and the democracy they need. But when you refuse to help the people fighting for freedom, the consequences return, and they are always negative. Belarus in 2020 is the example. No one helped their people, and now Russian or ethnic missiles are deployed in Belarus within range of most European capitals. That would not have happened if the Belarusian people had won in 2020. And we have told our European partners multiple times, act now. Act now against those missiles in Belarus. Missiles are never just decoration, but Europe still remains in Greenland mode. Maybe someday someone will do something. The issue of Russian oil is the same. It's good that many sanctions exist. Russian oil is getting cheaper, but the flow has not stopped. And Russian companies that fund Putin's war machine are still working. And that will not change. That will not change without more sanctions. And we are grateful for all the pressure put on the aggressor. But let's be honest. Europe must do more so its sanctions block enemies as effectively as American sanctions. Why is that important? Because if Europe is not seen as a global force, if its actions don't scare bad actors, then Europe will always be reacting, catching up with new dangers and attacks. We all see that the forces trying to destroy Europe do not face a single day. They operate freely, even operate inside Europe. Every victor who lives off European...
You know, guys, one thing he did say, President Zelenskyy said that is very important. Europe is going to need to learn how to defend itself from everybody, from Russia, from China, even if it's from the United States, if need be, from Canada, from anybody. But Europe has to learn or adapt or make themselves be independent and learn to defend themselves, especially from the Russians in this case.
Money while trying to sell out European interests deserves a smack upside the head. And if he feels comfortable in Moscow, it doesn't mean we should let European capitals become little Moscows. We must remember what separates Russia from all of us. The most fundamental line of conflict between Russia and Ukraine and all of Europe is this: Russia fights to devalue people, to make sure that when dictators want to destroy someone, they can. But they must lose power, not gain it. For example, Russia's missiles are produced only because there are ways to bypass sanctions. It's true. Everyone sees how Russia tries to freeze Ukrainians. Now, our people, Ukrainians to death at minus 20 degrees Celsius. But Russia couldn't build any ballistic or cruise missiles without critical components from other countries, and it's not just China. Too often people hide behind the excuse that China helps Russia. Yes, it does. But not only China. Russia gets components from companies in Europe, the United States, and Taiwan. Right now, many are investing in stability around Taiwan to avoid war. But can Taiwanese companies stop contributing electronics to Russia's war? Europe says almost nothing. America says nothing. And Putin makes missiles. And I thank every country, of course, and every company that helps Ukraine repair its energy system. This is crucial. Thank you to all who support the Pearl program, helping us buy Patriot missiles. But wouldn't it be cheaper and easier to just cut Russia off from the components it needs for missiles production? Or even destroy the factories making them? Last year, most of the time was spent talking about long-range weapons for Ukraine. And everybody said that the solution was within range. Now, no one is even talking about it. But Russian missiles and Shahis are still here. And we still have the coordinates of the factories where they are made. Today, they target Ukraine. Tomorrow, it could be any NATO country. And here in Europe, we are advised not to mention tomahawks. Not to mention tomahawks to the Americans, not to spoil the mood.
You know, guys, one thing I think we all think about when we look at this whole scenario with Trump is that Trump doesn't ever fall into the trap of trusting Putin. Because he is pro Putin, you know, he kind of sees that he has more in common with Putin than with Zelenskyy. And you see him that he tries to negotiate and he tries to always give Putin that edge. And I think if he continues to do that, and he knows that Putin is not to be trusted, but I think if he ever goes overboard and trusts Putin, and he might make a big mistake that'll probably affect the whole world.
And we are told not to bring up Taurus missiles. When the subject is Turkey, diplomats say don't offend Greece. When it's Greece, they say be careful with Turkey. In Europe, there are endless internal arguments and things left unsaid that stop Europe from uniting and speaking honestly enough to find real solutions. And too often, Europeans turn against each other, leaders, parties, movements, and communities, instead of standing together to stop Russia, which brings the same destruction to everyone. Instead of becoming a truly global power, Europe remains a beautiful but fragmented kaleidoscope of small and middle powers. Instead of taking the lead in defending freedom worldwide, especially when America's focus shifts elsewhere, Europe looks lost, trying to convince the US president to change. But he will not change. President Trump loves who he is. And he says he loves Europe, but he will not listen to this kind of Europe. One of the biggest problems in today's Europe, though it's not often talked about, is the mindset. Some European leaders are from Europe, but not always for Europe. And Europe still feels more like a geography, history, a tradition, not a real political force, not a great power. Some Europeans are really strong, it's true. But many say we must stand strong, and they always want someone else to tell them how long they need to stand strong, preferably until the next election. But that's not how great power works, to my mind. Leaders say we must defend European interests, but they hope someone else will do it for them. And speaking of values, they often mean valueless. They are all like, we need something to replace the old world order with. But where is the line of leaders who are ready to act? Act now, on land, in the air, at the sea, to build a new global order. You can't build the new world order out of words. Only actions create real order. Today, America has launched the Board of Peace. Ukraine was invited, so was Russia, Belarus.
You know, if you really look at it, guys, Europe is in a dangerous situation without the United States. Europe needs the United States if you really look at it, because and I thought that Europe was stronger. I didn't think that Europe was that dependent on the United States and Canada. If Russia was to declare war on all of Europe with China helping it, Europe would all of Europe would not stand a chance without the United States and Canada. That's crazy.
Though the war hasn't stopped, and there is not even a ceasefire. And you have seen who joined. Everyone had their reasons. But here is the thing. Europe hasn't even formed a united position on the American idea. Maybe tonight when the European Council meets, they will decide something. But the documents were already signed this morning, and tonight they might also finally decide something on Greenland. But last night, Mark Rutte had spoken to President Trump. Thank you, Mark, for your productiveness. America is already changing its position, but nobody knows exactly how. So things move faster than we. Things move faster than Europe. And how can Europe keep up? Dear friends, we should not degrade ourselves to secondary roles, not when we have a chance to be a great power together. We should not accept that Europe is just a salad of small and middle powers seasoned with enemies of Europe. When united, we are truly invincible. And Europe can and must be a global force, not one that reacts late, but one that defines the future. That would help everyone from the Middle East to every other region in the world. That would help Europe itself, because the challenges we face now are challenges to the European way of life, where people matter, where nations matter. Europe can help build a better world. Europe must build a better world, and a world without war, of course. But for that, Europe needs strength. For that, we must act together and act in time. And most of all, we must have the courage to act. And we are actively working to reach solutions, real solutions. Today, we met with President Trump, and our teams are working almost every day. It's not simple. The documents aimed at ending this war are nearly ready, and that really matters. Ukraine is working with full honesty and determination, and that brings results. And Russia must become ready to finish this war, to stop this aggression, Russian war against us. So the pressure must be strong enough, and the support for Ukraine must grow even stronger. Our previous meetings with President of the United States brought us here defense missiles, and thanks Europeans, they helped also. And today we also spoke about the protecting the skies, which means protecting lives, of course. And I hope America will continue to stand with us. And Europe must be strong, and Ukraine is ready to help with anything needed to guarantee peace and prevent destruction. We are ready to help others become stronger than they are now. We are ready to be part of a Europe that truly matters, a Europe of real power, great power. Today we need that power to protect our own independence, but you need Ukraine's independence too, because tomorrow you may have to defend your way of life. And when Ukraine is with you, no one will wipe their feet on you, and you will always have a way to act, and act in time. This is very important. Act in time. Dear friends, today is one of the last days of Davos, though definitely not the last Davos, of course. And everyone agrees on that. Many people believe that somehow things will work out on their own. But we cannot rely on somehow. For real security, faith is not enough. Faith in a partner, in a lucky turn of events. No intellectual discussions are capable of stopping wars. We need action, world order comes from
I got to check out that board of peace that Trump is talking about. Let me know in the comments if you know what that's about. I'm going to be checking it out. What is he talking about? Board of peace. Guys, I don't see the Ukrainian-Russian war ending this year. I pray for it every morning. I pray for peace in Ukraine. I sympathize with Ukraine. I stand with Ukraine 100%. But the reality of it is that even if they work out a peace plan, I just don't trust Putin at all. I think that Putin would just put a band-aid on it, and he would sign up for a peace plan or whatever, and then a few months will pass, and then he'll start attacking again, and I just don't trust it. I just don't trust it. And Trump is a little desperate to end this war, and then he's just gonna want to own up to anything and just try to do it quick, just to get the credit for it. That's all he wants. He wants the credit for it. But I think that he's gonna put too much trust in Putin, and that's not gonna be good at all. At all. Guys, you already know, man. Subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Any donations to my channel will be greatly appreciated. My PayPal account is on the screen. May God help us all. Peace, love, and God bless.